Hi everyone, welcome back to Mind Body Food TV. My name is Viki. As always, I am so happy that you're joining me today. And with me today is a very special guest, Robyn Patton from Intuitive Nourishment. Hi Robyn.
Hi Viki.
Welcome to Mind Body Food TV. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Now today everybody, we're going to talk about dieting, which I think is something that a lot of us have in common. And we're going to give you a little bit of background from Robyn's story and how she's used that to help her get to where she is now. So Robyn, give us a little background of what you do and what's actually led to what you're doing now from your own personal experience with dieting.
Sure. So what I do now is I'm a holistic life coach. I coach women and men one-on-one. I'm also doing some groups and I've just started podcasting. So my business is going off in many different directions, but at the heart of my business is my coaching practice. And I suppose how I got here was I started my professional life as a counsellor and a therapist, and did that for many, many years and enjoyed that. Then headed overseas. My husband at the time had a job that took him overseas, so we lived in Switzerland for 5 years. But all throughout my life, from when I was very young, I was very conscious of my weight. So I look back on photos now of me when people to say, no, you are fine. It's okay for me to own and be very upfront about the fact that I was overweight my whole life up until my late 20s. So I was very conscious of being different from other people. So at school as a child, I was very conscious of my weight. I hated sport. I hated swimming. I didn't feel like I fitted in. As a teenager, those feelings just got worse. They didn't get better, they got worse. As you know, it's a really tricky time and got greater.
That's when the body's changing as well, and
body's changing.
You start to notice the differences. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was probably around that time that I felt my lack of control. I wasn't in control of what I could do and how I could manage my weight and my changing body. So it was around that time that I first went on a diet. I was taken to Weight Watchers when I was around 13 or 14, and that was the first time that I remember being really in control.
Yeah. So was that your choice to go to Weight Watchers? Because you said I was taken to Weight Watchers. Did you ask your parents, can I get some help? Can you do something?
To be honest, Viki, I can't remember.
Yep.
All I can remember is Mum and I driving to Weight Watchers, and I remember the little plastic scales that she bought, and I remember a tablespoon of peanut butter being a certain amount of, well, it wasn't points in those days, but, you know, being okay. I remember the weighing and the restricting. And I don't remember doing it for that long. I don't remember it being something, but it was there. It was planted in my experience of this is something that you can do to manage your weight. I don't remember having success with it. Success meaning, you know, achieving the aims of, you know, weight loss. I don't remember it having the outcome that, you know, we were looking for. But I know that that's when it first was planted in my mind as a, you know, this is what you do when you're overweight. This is what you do. You go and you go somewhere and you go on a diet and you measure out your tablespoon of peanut butter and you weigh. So all throughout my 20s, I felt out of control. I didn't feel like I had the ability to manage my weight in a way that made me feel good about myself. I didn't feel good about myself.
Yeah.
When it came to my physical body, I didn't feel good about myself. And then, and you know, I talk about how the fact around that, you know, during those years, I felt like I took up too much space. That I physically felt that I took up too much space. And it was a very real, painful feeling. So in my late 20s, I came full circle, and in one respect, and I decided to go back to Weight Watchers. And a girlfriend and I did it together, and she and I started the weekly trek to the meetings. And at that time, I was able to attend on a regular basis. Everything worked in my favour. I felt very committed to it. I'd already met my soon-to-be husband at that point, so I felt that I knew that I had a wedding coming up, and I was very committed. Over the period of about 9 months, I lost the weight. I continued. My friend didn't. I think, which is really typical of. I think we beat ourselves up about this, but we see our friends going on and having luck and success with a particular diet, and we give it our best shot, and it just doesn't work for us at all. On that time round, that worked for me. And the interesting thing is that something that I've become aware of since then is that when we have success on a diet once, we are neurologically hooked into and biologically and emotionally hooked into the belief that diets work.
Exactly. And they will for the duration that you're on them, which unfortunately isn't a long-term sustainable solution. And that's where we get unstuck in trying to maintain control, but in effect actually losing it.
That's right. That's right. Because what I've come to realise is diets are another form of being told what to do. So even though we willingly sign up for it, we believe that we're fully consciously the one saying, yes, I want to do this, I want to take this on. It's ultimately an external rule book that we're following. It's somebody else's ideas and concepts of what our bodies, our minds, our souls, our spirits should be fed.
Yeah, and I think that's where we get further and further from trusting and relying upon our own body wisdom. We have no connection to it when we're so focused externally on this is going to work. If I do this, if I restrict this, if I deprive myself enough, I'm going to reach my end goal and I'm going to lose weight. And interesting you should say before that when you took it up the second time, it worked for you, but it didn't necessarily work for your friend. She didn't stick to it. And I think that's a great example of no matter what approach you think will work for you, it just may not. I like to use the example of your head may think for various reasons, whether it's ethical, whether it's logical to you, whether it's because it's popular, somebody else or a famous celebrity has followed a particular diet, it's worked for them, they've had great results, and immediately you think, I'm going to try that, I'm going to do that. Intellectually or for some reason you might think, yep, that's great, I'm going to follow that. But unfortunately, the body may disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to teach my clients anyway to forget the diet and the rules and all of the external advice of you should follow this way, that way, this type of diet, exclude this, exclude that. Ask your body, trust your body. And I know that body wisdom is something that you incorporate quite a lot with your work. Is that what led you to, your personal experience? Like how did you get from that dieting experience to letting go of dieting to trust your body wisdom?
Sure. So that continued, that journey around dieting then continued for me for the next 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
I was on and off the roller coaster of, like you said, it can work in the short term, but the actual peace of mind and peace within the body, that doesn't get sold as part of the whole dieting package. That journey is a very personal and unique journey to all of us. And it's one that I wasn't aware of as, over those next 10 or 12 years where I was looking for the next diet, the next pill, the next quick fix.
Best thing.
What's that?
The next best thing.
The next best thing to get back to that feeling of, I'd lost 20 kilos with Weight Watchers. The sense of satisfaction that comes from that was enormous for me. I literally felt like if I can do this, I can do anything. But then chasing that feeling for the next 10 or 12 years was exhausting.
Yeah.
So, but I did, and to the point where I ended up working for them and loving my work. What I loved about it is that, I was supporting women on their own personal journeys. I was able to do that work one-on-one with men and women. But what I was most interested in was how people were adapting their own challenges to make the program work for them. So I was interested in people's journeys, their internal journeys, their spiritual journeys, their emotional journeys, listening to their stress levels. Yeah. What was a challenge one week in relation to a stressor in their life, something with their husband or their kids or their work, then how the next week when we were meeting, how they had powerfully dealt with in their lives. And, by the way, they'd also had a week where they'd felt, they'd eaten in a way that they'd felt good and supported and grounded and strong within themselves. That was secondary. To me, what was the most interesting and rewarding was supporting people in being empowered in their own lives, in all aspects of their lives. So as I was getting deeper into that work with my clients, that really sparked the journey for me around health and well-being. So in 2012, so 3.5 years ago now, I embarked on quite a separate journey to discover more about health and well-being from a holistic point of view. And through that process of that year, I read many books, I did courses, I did internal work, and I gave up dieting. I completely gave up dieting.
High five.
High five for that. But what was interesting about that is I was working in the dieting industry, and I can remember around February, March of that year thinking, I'm not going to see out the year here. I've got this feeling that I'm not going to be working here by the end of this year. And within two or 3 months, I'd resigned. I'd left that job. I actually couldn't continue through what I was experiencing myself. It didn't resonate to continue within that culture. So I struck off on my own. That's when I set up my coaching practice and began the journey of putting together a program that resonated most powerfully for me, which was intuitive nourishment. And interestingly enough, I started that year with calling my business Skinny Foodie. It was my focus and my intention and my drive was all around skinny and the importance of that. And I really liked the name. I felt it had, a nice ring to it. But once again, over the course of that year, I thought, this business name I've chosen doesn't resonate with me anymore. It doesn't reflect me, nor my journey, nor what I'm looking to put out there in the world for women and men. So I remember lying in bed one morning thinking, what am I going to do? I've bought the domain name. I've got business cards printed with this business name. I've set up my Facebook page with this business name. What am I going to do? And I was lying in bed thinking, I can turn skinny into an acronym. Maybe I can do that. And I came up with simply knowing intuitive nourishment nurtures you. So for a couple of weeks, I had this slightly clumsy, but I thought quite clever acronym. But what I realised afterwards was that it was my transition to stripping away the acronym, and what was left in the middle of that acronym was intuitive nourishment. Yeah. And so everything else literally and figuratively fell away, and it was very representative of my own personal journey. What no longer suited me fell away. Yep. Everything that was no longer serving my higher good fell away. My higher purpose, if it didn't line up or resonate, I shed it, I let it go. And what I was left with from that, the kernel of that was intuitive nourishment. And that's what I've built my coaching practice on. That's my program. And that's what I utilise today.
Wonderful. I love how you were just saying that letting those outside things shed away from you and letting go of what no longer resonated with you gave you more focus, but also opened up your coaching practice to align in the way that most suited you. That's a great way of comparing to when we let go of dieting, when we let go of control, we make room for understanding ourselves in a completely different way, in a much more personal way, we can actually make better change from that point of view.
If not dieting, then what? If I was not going to be, I just knew that dieting wasn't right. And for me, it didn't resonate. It wasn't lining up with the work that I was doing around strengthening my intuition and all my spiritual practices that I was fully embracing. It didn't match up with the personal development and the growth work that I was doing. And that's where I started off on the journey of intuitive eating, and then looking at my own internal wisdom and really working on, and which I continue to do today. It's a very mindful and ongoing practice.
Definitely.
Of what do I need, what's going on within my body, am I fully present in this moment? You know, it's what else is going on around me? Am I grounded? Am I ungrounded? It's such a bigger, richer, more interesting picture now, and it leads me and inspires me in a way that makes my heart sing, because it's part of me. It's part of the expression of who I am in this world. It's about me showing up fully in not just in the food that I eat, but in the way that I relate to people, in the way that I relate to my body, in the way that I talk, in the way that I look after myself, in the work that I do.
I see how much passion you have for it. You know, it just oozes up and out of you as you're talking like that, and I know that happens for me when I'm talking about my passions as well. Great book, by the way, Dr. Rick Hausman, who wrote If Not Dieting, Then What? That was probably one of the first non-dieting books that I had read many, many years ago that really started me thinking, well, if I actually stopped denying myself, depriving myself, starving myself in effect, if I stopped doing those things and I made room for allowing, then maybe by making room for the allowing, I might be able to feel a greater sense of control. I might be able to have a better relationship with food instead of focusing on what I can't eat, how much I should eat, if I should eat at all, and leading me to that craving, that binging, and then ultimately that purging in my experience. One thing that you just said before also, which is I think it's another thing that you and I focus on a great deal within our own individual practices, is looking at it from the holistic point of view. A lot of clients that come to me, and I'm quite confident that you've had the same experience, they come and they focus on food, they focus on dieting, they focus on that challenge that they're having with food and weight and body image. And a lot of that is very intertwined with other aspects of their lives. And that's the thing. It's holistically appreciating the person uniquely for who they are. So often that relationship with food or dieting or body image or self-esteem and confidence has a connection to what's going on elsewhere in their lives that actually could be the cause of why they're focusing so much on body image, weight, and those kinds of things with eating and food. So what for you was like the number one thing that you like to focus on when someone comes to you and they're focused on dieting, but you can see that it's the dieting that is a symptom of other areas? How do you help them to expand their self-awareness or perception of what's really going on underneath the surface of the relationship with themselves that is being transferred into their relationship with food, and thinking that dieting is going to make it all better? Like, if I lose 10 kilos, I'll finally be happier, I'll be allowed to have that relationship or go for that job or finally, go traveling or experience life.
I think it's really important in the first instance, Viki, to honour people's stories around their relationship with food and their relationship with their body. So for me, the starting point is to really understand by listening to the stories that people, that my clients tell me about their relationship with food and their body. That then gives me a sense, and it gives them a sense as well, of the beginning story of this bigger picture. So as I'm listening to that relationship, listening to that story and that relationship, I'm listening to the way that they're speaking, the words that they're using about themselves, about food, whether it's deprivation or whether it's, a feeling of being out of control. So finding where people are at in that story, honouring that story, and then just starting to broaden the story out. Find out a little bit of a history of that story, where that started, what was mum's relationship with food and her body like. Find out what's going on now, what's going on in other areas of their life, because a lot of my clients are women, and a lot of them have partners and children. There's, as you and I know, as we all know in this situation, that's stressful enough.
Yeah.
Without even knowing anything else about a woman's life. If we, work, home, family and relationships is enough. That's enough to start to understand what else is going on in their life, to get a sense of how is food helping. Because as we know, food is often playing a really important role in helping and supporting a stressful life. And starting from that point for me is really important. Honouring the stories and honouring the role that food has played in that story.
How would you encourage someone who perhaps is thinking about getting some help, working with a coach or a counsellor, but to help them take that first step in their own mind? What can they do now if they don't have that opportunity or they're not ready to take that opportunity? What would your advice be to somebody now as to how to figure that out for themselves, how to really tune in and ask that question, how is food serving me? Is food really helping me or hindering me? And start to get some answers for themselves.
A really great place that I love to start is with mindful eating.
Yeah.
I put together a 7-day free program just because I think as a really easy starting point, yet challenging. It can be huge. It's easy on one hand.
Yeah.
In theory, it sounds great and it's really easy. In practice, I think for all of us,
very hard.
It has its challenges. So I think just becoming conscious and aware of eating without judgment. So for me, it's a really important place to start this journey without judgments on yourself, which I think is a really useful part of the coaching process, because within that powerful partnership, you can help to take away the judgments, because as women and men, we have a lot of judgments on ourselves about how we eat, what we eat.
We sure do.
When we eat. All aspects of our eating selves we have a lot of judgments on. So part of the mindful eating process is being supported around not having judgments. But I find that's even just tuning in once a day.
It's progress.
To one meal a day.
Yeah, it's progress, it's self-awareness. And it can be very, very hard for somebody to sit down and become aware of what they're eating, just to even smell it, to look at it. I find so many people are so caught up in the stress of their daily lives that they eat on the run, they eat through the drive-through, they skip meals, they'll eat at their desk. They don't even take the time to look at the food that they're eating. So even just starting with that and looking at the food, appreciating the colours, the aromas, the textures, just even doing that is a growth of self-awareness. And that in itself can be a wonderful first step without the pressure of I'm not doing it right, or I'm not doing enough, or trying to go the full hog of, one mouthful at a time and put the fork down, because that for a lot of people is, I can't do that, that's too challenging. Just even starting with that is a great step. It's a wonderful positive step.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when he's thinking about, just going back to your other question as well, for me, I am a coach, and I also have been coached. I have a coach. It's the basis of working with a coach is completely about relationship. So I would say if you're thinking about taking this journey with a coach, and if that coach offers a complimentary initial, session, utilize that. Shop around. Find someone that you feel a connection with, because this is a journey. It's a powerful partnership, and it's a journey, and it's your time. So you want to feel like you are comfortable, that you resonate, that you're heard, that you're understood, that the person can walk with you on this journey. And one of the best ways to do that, I've always found, is by utilising, a free session with the coach before I make that decision.
Great. And you offer that, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Great. Awesome. So how can people find you and also get access to your 7-day free mindful eating program that you've got on offer?
So probably the best place for contacting me and also to grab the mindful eating program is to go to my website, www.robynpatton.com, ROBYNPATTON.com. There you'll find a place to put in your details and grab that program. You'll find the links to my Facebook page and my Instagram page. I still love food. I'm not dieting and I still love my food even more now than ever. So I love my Instagram page because that's my outlet to put up, extra recipes and what I've been cooking. And so if you love food, and check that out. And yes, that's probably the best place to find me.
Great, wonderful, and you do have some fabulous foodie photos on your Instagram. I do recommend people go and check that out. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your perspective and how you work with clients, and for some great tips on helping people at least get started. For joining us today on Mind Body Food, thank you very much, Robyn. And for those of you who would like to break up with dieting, you can also get my free Break Up with Dieting ebook from my website, mindbodyfood.net, and that'll give you some fantastic tips to calm your mind, love your body, and eat with pleasure. Thank you so much, Robyn. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care, look after yourself, and be kind. Bye-bye.